It's 10 o'clock. This is Sky News at 10. Our top story. The final moments of Air India Flight 171 as the preliminary crash report reveals fuel to both engines cut out shortly after takeoff. The challenge for the government over cross-channel migrants as hundreds more make the journey the day after the new returns deal. France may have agreed to it, but other European countries haven't, and they tell us they have huge doubts about the legality of the scheme. Invited to Britain, but not yet to Parliament. Why Donald Trump may be denied that honour on his state visit later this year. The warning that reservoirs may be left high and dry with a third heat wave and the least rain in nearly 50 years. The poisoning scandal at a Chinese preschool, where police say staff were adding paint powder to food to make it look more appealing. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Good evening. The preliminary report into the Air India plane crash, which killed 241 people on board and 19 on the ground, has been released in the last hour. It reveals that fuel to both engines on the Boeing 787 plane cut out shortly after takeoff. The investigation is not recommending any actions at this stage over either the plane model or the engines it used. Our correspondent, Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, joins me now. And Oliver, the first official word on what may have caused this crash nearly a month ago now. But what have we learned?
So we've learned that only 3 seconds after the plane got airborne, that the fuel was cut off both to engine number 1 and to engine number 2 of Air India Flight 171, which was leaving from Ahmedabad and flying to London Gatwick. Now, this caused confusion in the cockpit. I'm going to read now from this preliminary report by India's Aircraft Accident Investigations Bureau. It says, the aircraft achieved the maximum recorded airspeed, and immediately thereafter, the engine 1 and engine 2 fuel cut-off switches transitioned from run to cut-off position one after another. The engine N1 and N2 began to decrease from their takeoff values as the fuel supplies to the engines was cut off. In the cockpit voice recording, one of the pilots is heard asking the other, why did he cut off? The other pilot responded that he did not do so. Now, what this report does not show is whether this was pilot error, so a pilot erroneously flicking a switch to cut the fuel to the engines, whether this was a mechanical issue, or indeed whether this is some sort of software issue. And these investigations will now continue to try to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. We know that both of the aircraft voice and data recorders were retrieved, although the one in the tail of the aircraft was severely damaged and they had difficulty downloading some of that data. We also know that the co-pilot was the pilot in charge of the aircraft, so he was flying it while the captain was monitoring the situation. Now, that is not unusual. You'll often see that, so that co-pilots can get the required number of air hours that they need to reach their next level of certification. But clearly, the initial part of this investigation is focusing in on why the fuel was cut to these engines, because at a critical time such as takeoff, you obviously want to have as much fuel and as much power as possible to get that thrust and lift off that you need for a plane to take off into the sky. Having the fuel cut off clearly caused the opposite to happen. Oliver, thank you. And we'll keep across this story throughout the course of the evening. Sir Keir Starmer would have known that his deal to return some Channel migrants to France wasn't going to be a magic wand to stop the boats, and today proved it. There were what the Coast Guard called multiple crossings of the Channel. Our cameras alone filmed 4, and huge doubts expressed about the legality of the deal by one of the EU's key member states. Tonight, there is evidence of another potential headache for the Prime Minister. As we've learned, Donald Trump may be denied the honour of addressing Parliament on his state visit later in the year. More on that in a moment, but first, our political correspondent Rob Powell reports on Sir Keir's migrant challenge.
Another day, another rescue at sea. Calm conditions brought hundreds of arrivals. 85 migrants were picked up by this lifeboat. 55 arrived on this border force vessel, with other ships in and out of port all morning. Yesterday, and the same vessels picked up more than 570 people. The 2025 total now 50% higher than at the same point last year. The Home Secretary confident a new returns deal with France will tackle this and won't be held up in the courts.
We've done a lot of legal work on this. That's part of the reason the work we've done in the preparation over the last few months, so that we have a robust position to be able to respond to any legal challenges that are made. But look, this is the steady approach that we're taking to this. I've said previously, we are building the foundations of a fundamentally different approach to our border security.
An approach no doubt under discussion in the Buckinghamshire countryside today. Cabinet ministers making the journey to the Prime Minister's rural retreat for a government away day. The Tory leader also out of the city, opening a new building at Stansted Airport. Kemi Bade not casting doubts on the France deal, given just 50 arrivals a week will initially be returned.
It doesn't do anything to reduce immigration, and one in, one out also means that as we're taking people, if the asylum seekers who go back to France get there, they can come back again. So we can have the same person going back and forth while we're receiving other people on France's behalf.
Back in Westminster and sunshine on Downing Street. The boss away, everyone here hoping for brighter days ahead. It's been a rough old summer for the Prime Minister. U-turns on winter fuel and welfare have blown a hole in his balance sheet, something that today's downbeat economic news will only make worse. Set against that, this migration deal is a win, but it will only bring in votes if it leads to a drop in channel crossings. And that will likely only happen if the French president agrees to eventually scale up the plan, giving it a firmer deterrent effect. But given almost all migrants enter Europe further south, any expansion may leave other EU states worried about asylum seekers being ultimately returned to them. The Italian government has already said it has huge doubts about the legality of the deal, with concern in Spain too.
Southern Mediterranean European member states which are worried about this step, which again plays the bilateral kind of an approach with the UK, which is certainly facing a major challenge in the Channel, but it comes to France, which is a member state of the European Union, which has to be law-abiding.
In Dover, more people brought ashore. In the weeks to come, some of these migrants may be sent back to France soon after they arrive. A humanitarian crisis, yes, but a big political problem too. Rob Powell, Sky News in Westminster.
Well, we saw Emmanuel Macron there making that returns deal with Sir Keir Starmer on his state visit to the UK this week. At the heart of that visit was an address to Parliament. But Sky News understands that it's an honour that may be denied to Donald Trump. America's president is expected to visit in September. Our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills reports.
We've seen this week the spectacle of a state visit in Windsor. Now, with farewell to one leader, attention shifts to the arrival of another.
This is a letter from His Majesty the King. It's an invitation for a second state visit.
And that says at Windsor. That's yes. Really something.
But when those flags are replaced with the stars and stripes, there is one part of the usual state visit that Trump may not get. Addressing Parliament was a privilege that President Macron was given on Tuesday.
It is a very great honour to speak before the two houses of the British Parliament, a place of history bygone and history in the making.
Now we understand the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, hasn't yet been asked to arrange the same thing for Donald Trump. And the timing of the visit may also have an impact.
This is a fest and it's beautiful, and I think they're setting a date for September.
The date hasn't been confirmed yet, but everyone is expecting it to happen in September. And with Parliament not sitting from the 17th, it may take away the issue of whether he should speak or not. Some MPs, like Kate Osborne, don't want to give him that honour. She wrote to the Speaker to prevent it from happening.
It's not so much him coming to the UK. It really is about the addressing of parliamentarians. That's the issue for me. If we can manoeuvre it in a way that means that the House isn't sitting, then that seems like a good solution. Maybe not perfect, because I'd actually like him to know that he's not welcome.
The president didn't do it during his first state visit in 2019, the speaker at the time appearing to stop it. Instead, the focus on pageantry, meeting business leaders and, of course, spending lots of time with the royals. The highlight, it would seem, for most world leaders, Macron's face showing this was a moment that he won't forget. As for Trump getting a carriage procession, it is hard to imagine his security allowing it. One thing that is for certain is that number 10 will have been delighted this week. The French state visit looks spectacular. We know the US president is a competitive man, and the bar has now been set for the palace to make sure that everything is extra special when Trump does roll into town. He has already been to Windsor, but this was just for tea in 2018. We wait to see if he's asked to stay at the castle like President Macron. At least this time, everyone knows what to expect. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News, at Windsor Castle.
Well, our chief political correspondent John Craig is in Downing Street for us tonight. And John, the headaches don't stop coming, do they, for Sir Keir Starmer, whether it's over the finer details of Donald Trump's visit or making his migration deal stick?
Well, what both these issues have in common, of course, is that they will have been discussed at some length at that cabinet away day at Chequers, when there was a political cabinet, when the Prime Minister was attempting to plot a fight back in year 2 of this government after a bumpy first year. The cabinet will have been pretty concerned about the very hostile reception the one-in, one-out plan has received, and all the potential pitfalls and legal challenges and so on. As for President Trump, well, you heard him say in Rhiannon's report that he expects to come to the UK in September. However, earlier this week, our Scotland correspondent Conor Gillies reported that there's a possibility that he may come late July, early August and visit his golf courses in Scotland. His son, Eric, has said he plans to come to the opening of his new course in Aberdeenshire, and Police Scotland have told Sky News they are preparing for a potential visit later this month. Now, of course, that avoids the problem of a diplomatic snub not going to Parliament because, of course, the Commons rises on the 22nd of July, the Lords on the 24th. So that would be in the summer recess. Now, the President is talking about September, and you heard Rhiannon say there that the Commons and the Lords both rise on it's the 16th of September, the Lords on the 18th through to October. So there's a gap there too. But what a senior parliamentarian has said to me is that if the President is to make a speech to Parliament during this term of his presidency, it could come next year, because next year, 2026, is the 250th anniversary of American independence. And I'm told that in the Parliament, the view is that might be the more logical time for him to address Parliament if the government was to back that. And I'm told that if the government were to back that, then the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, and the Lord Speaker, Lord McFall, would not block it in the way that John Bercow, the former Speaker, did back in 2019.
John, thank you very much. Well, Donald Trump himself is in Texas tonight, visiting the scene of the floods, which he said have now killed at least 135 people.
Our nation, we mourn for every single life that was swept away in the flood, and we pray for the families that are left behind. It's amazing the incredible spirit from those families. I don't know. I don't even know how they do it. But moments ago, Melania and I spent a lot of time with them. That's why we're a little late. I think this was a good reason to be late, frankly. And we just gave our warmest condolences. But you say to yourself, you know, how do you give condolences? How do you do that to a young person that 3 days ago was here, 4 days ago was here and vibrant, and now is no longer here?
Our international correspondent John Sparks is in Washington for us tonight. And John, we saw the President there at times quite emotional in his address to the community in Kerrville, and promised the resources that they would need to rebuild.
Hi, Ghislaine. Yes, he looked moved. He looked genuinely moved after meeting with family members who have lost their loved ones, in many cases young children, their daughters who were staying at this summer camp, Camp Mystic, on the banks of the Guadalupe River. I mean, look, this is a tragedy, yes, but it's also a national disaster, a national catastrophe in the United States. Donald Trump, he sort of updated the death toll while in that press conference. It was a roundtable meeting in Kerr County in central Texas, but he updated the death toll. 135 to 140 people have died, he said, with many, many people still missing. And he said that it was important. He was speaking to local officials, local dignitaries. He said it was important to express the love, support, and anguish of the nation. But what we also saw him doing was really respond to criticisms, so growing questions about whether this disaster, which took place in the early morning hours of July 4th, whether it was avoidable, whether it was preventable. And what Donald Trump said was, we've never seen anything like this before. He said it was a 1 in a 100-year event, a 1 in a 500-year event. He's really saying there was nothing that anybody could do, but the fact is that there was very little in the way of a sort of an early warning system in that area of central Texas. Some people got text messages on their phones in the early morning hours, but a lot of people didn't have mobile phone coverage, and it was early in the morning. There wasn't a system in place to alert people, and I think that was indirectly acknowledged by the Texas governor, Greg Abbott. He said, in the next couple of days, we're going to get together, we're going to work on new systems, we're going to work on new ideas to make sure that this never happens again. But yes, the American president did look genuinely moved as he met people there in central Texas.
John, thank you very much. You will most likely have noticed that the third heat wave of the summer has taken hold across the UK. Whether you like it or loathe it, the Environment Agency highlighted one consequence of the extended dry spells we've had so far this year. There's been less rain in England than at any time since the famous drought year of 1976. Our North of England correspondent Shingi Maurike reports from West Yorkshire.
This is what a British drought looks like. In Yorkshire, reservoirs left running dry, revealing parts of the past like this old bridge, while also giving us a picture of a scorching summer, one that comes off the back of record low levels of rainfall and reminders of the last time Britain had a start to the year like this. Yorkshire has had just 15 centimetres of rain between February and June, pushing the region into drought status. Behind me, reservoir levels have dropped, but they haven't emptied, whereas in 1976, the tower behind me was completely exposed. It's still been enough for Yorkshire Water to put in place a hosepipe ban. That means restrictions for things like watering the garden, cleaning cars, and filling paddling pools, which for people at this garden centre evoke memories of that famous drought nearly 50 years ago and annoyance about not just inconvenience, but infrastructure.
Tar melting on the roads, standpipes, tankers spraying water on the roads and sand. Yeah, I remember it well.
How does that compare to this?
It's no different.
They want to invest more, don't they?
Yeah, invest more.
I mean, you go abroad and they're never sure to water abroad, are they? Never. They water the gardens, everything, but not here.
If there was some effort put into collecting water when we have big downpours, then perhaps that'd help when there is a drought, rather than it all just running away.
The warm weather comes with warnings. The UK Health Security Agency have issued a heat alert with concerns for vulnerable groups. At this play centre, grandparents we met did have worries.
My aircon in my car doesn't work, so bringing her here was quite stressful. As you can see, she's quite hot. Oh, she's off.
She is off.
But yes, it's sleeping. She doesn't sleep so well in the heat. It all gets a bit much, really.
I think as long as you're aware and you make sure she drinks lots, keep her in cool clothes, and you look after yourself, don't you? Yeah, and don't play too much, just play a little bit.
Repeated heat waves and droughts are part of a concerning trend. England's reservoir stocks are currently around 3/4 capacity. That's a historic low for this time of year. While Britain hasn't built a reservoir since 1992, despite a rising population and increasing temperatures. It means even as the country enjoys another blast of warmth, there will be some people worried this could be a sign of drier summers to come. Shingi Marike, Sky News, West Yorkshire.
More than 200 children aged 6 or younger have been treated in hospital in China after staff at their nursery used lead paint as food colouring. 8 people have been detained and the case has stoked distrust in a country long plagued by food safety scandals. The children were poisoned in the country's northwestern Gansu province near Tianshui. Our Asia correspondent Helen Ann Smith reports from Maiji.
Taped doors and quiet rooms tell a story here of a huge scandal in a tiny town, a barely believable failing in a place that should have been safe. These are the pictures that have rocked this community. Paint powder added to kindergarten food in an apparent bid to boost its appeal, but it has left over 200 children poisoned with lead. Everyone here knows someone affected. This woman's child attends a sister kindergarten. She, like hundreds, rushed to get her child checked. We were worried at first, she says, but we're relieved after the test.
The kindergarten here has been closed for just over a week now, and you really get a sense being in this town that there is profound disbelief about what happened here. But there are questions too about how it was handled, and a sense that suspicion also runs very deep.
Indeed, most affected families have chosen to leave here to seek treatment in major cities. Many people tell us that the tests run at this local hospital returned misleadingly low results. On the street corners, it's all they're discussing, tapping into veins of distrust.
I don't know much, but I think this is a cover-up. I just think local government is too dark. They suppress the news.
There's no clear evidence of a cover-up, but it's telling that it's what people expect.
Who will be willing to have children? Who will dare to send the children to kindergarten? Now, if people send their children to primary school, the first thing they'll ask is, are you safe? Is the school safe? Can it guarantee the personal safety of our children in the future?
We're not obliged to let the local authorities know.
There is clear anxiety about the fact that we're here. Police hold us up for over an hour and escort us wherever we go. Indeed, China's history of food safety scandals is a sore point. This, perhaps the most famous, milk powder laced with melanin, leaving 6 children dead and hundreds of thousands unwell.
In such a big country, that make regulation, such a big challenge, which is, of course, complicated by, the local government failures. Each incident make it even more less likely for people to trust, right, that government is going to do a good job. But without, the social trust, it makes us efforts to improve regulatory capacity even more difficult.
Food scandals here are a source of real rage and resentment. Dangerous things for a government that people cannot choose. Cases like this, just a glimpse into how deep that frustration might run. Helen Ann Smith, Sky News in Maiji, Gansu Province.
Lord Ian Blair, who ran the Metropolitan Police at the time of the 7/7 attacks, has died at the age of 72. He was the Metropolitan Police Commissioner for 3 years, from 2005 to 2008. His time in the role was dominated by the aftermath of the terror attacks and the shooting by his officers of an innocent man, Jean-Charles de Menezes, who had been mistaken as a suicide bomber. The Unite Union says it suspended the membership of Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner over the government's handling of the ongoing Birmingham bin strikes. Unite says it will also re-examine its relationship with the Labour Party. A source close to Ms Rayner said she'd already resigned her membership of the union some months ago, a claim denied by Unite. The economy shrank again in May, surprising economists who'd expected growth and heaping pressure on the Chancellor Rachel Reeves. The Office for National Statistics says output slipped by 0.1%, following a 0.3% drop in April. And Liverpool Football Club have announced that they are retiring Diogo Jota's number 20 shirt. The Portuguese striker died along with his brother in a car accident in Spain 8 days ago. A woman who lost 2 children after being prescribed a drug found to cause avoidable harm has told Sky News it's better for the government to pretend some medical harm victims don't exist. Deborah Mann is one of thousands of victims of sodium valperate, primidos and pelvic mesh waiting for redress. 5 years after it was recommended they are compensated. Our Home editor, Jason Farrell, spoke to her.
A journey into a painful past. It's been 30 years. Deborah doesn't know for sure whether her daughter's gravestone will still be here.
Mama. Mama. Yeah.
What they find tells an incomplete story.
It just shouldn't have happened.
Trelissa Whitbread, born 3rd of February 1988. She lived 2 hours.
I'm really pleased you're here. I mean, my little girl, you really are. And I love you, Mama. I love you too, little one. Thank you.
Deborah had been prescribed high doses of epilepsy drug, sodium valperate, during all of her pregnancies. She believes that's what killed Trelissa and also killed her son, Kavern, when he was born 10 months later.
I asked so many questions, and no, it's not this, it's just the way things are, and it happens again. Oh, it's the way things are. It can't be the way things are when you lose 2 babies. How can it be the way things are?
Branwen was born 7 years later. She and Deborah's other surviving daughter have what is now acknowledged as fetal valperate syndrome, caused by the drug.
I have tight ankles, tight legs, tight hips, and I have a weak lower back. So I do have to wear splints every day and to ensure I can keep walking, and I have to do exercises every day. I have autism, Asperger syndrome. I also have stuff wrong with my brain, which is a pituitary cyst, a pineal lesion, a Curry malformation, and a low-lying brain. Every 2 years they have to do an MRI to make sure nothing's grown or moved. One of the things that I fight for right now is whether or not I can be a mother, and that's a really, really big decision. It's transgenerational. Any children that I have will be affected, and that really did scare me. I'm really concerned, but I would love to be a mother one day.
It's 5 years since the Cumberledge inquiry rebuked regulators and the industry for damaging patients and called for a scheme of redress for victims of valperate. 5 years on, that scheme still doesn't exist.
It's financially better to pretend they don't even exist. So many children are harmed, so many children that will not have their needs addressed as they grow older.
Cumberledge also wanted redress for 2 other medically harmed groups, including women left debilitated by pelvic mesh implants.
There are women in there who can't walk anymore or need a stick or a mobility scooter. They've lost jobs, marriages, pensions. Some have had to sell their homes, and it feels really unfair that we're still waiting for a reply on redress.
What have you heard from the government on this?
Well, we keep being told that they're working on it at pace. But the phrase within the group is that snail's pace.
It was an emotional moment 5 years ago when campaigners for children damaged by pregnancy test drug primidos were also finally recognised by the review team. They too have since been ignored.
I suppose our expectations were, wow, this is it now. Good heavens above all these years, and we finally got there, and then nothing. 5 years, and may I say 5 years and 31 deaths. That's how many of our members have died since that report was published.
We asked the Department of Health for a response to all 3 groups, but their statement makes no reference at all to primidos. And with regards to valperate and mesh, they make no promises on redress, other than being committed to providing a further update. There's no timescale on that, even though the Cumberledge Review is now 5 years old.
I'm here to speak for those who've been exposed to valperate in the womb.
Branwen has become a campaigner, giving evidence to the European Medicines Agency and the Cumberledge Review. This is about her future.
I feel very let down by the government. I feel let down by the people that promised that they would help us, that they would help ensure that we have a better quality of life.
The manufacturers of valperate, Sanofi, say they meet regulatory obligations and provide information about the risks that reflects current knowledge on the drug. Jason Farrell, Sky News.
Just some of the victims of sodium valperate there. Oasis are back home in Manchester tonight for the second stop on their reunion tour. It's the first time in 16 years the band have performed on their home turf in Manchester. Noel and Liam Gallagher are performing 5 shows at Heaton Park as part of their reunion tour. Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. Tonight, we're joined by Daily Mirror columnist Susie Boniface and former Conservative Special Advisor Anita Boiseng. Amongst the stories we'll be discussing, this on the front of The Telegraph, which says families to pay more for water in heat waves. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.